Are you truly using your mind's full potential? Are you sure the way you think, choose, and act isn't influenced by the same habits, old fears, or distractions you no longer notice? Most people don't need more data or content. What they need is a new way of thinking. Intelligence isn't born with you, it's built over time. It can be developed, adapted, and strengthened every day, as long as you know where to start. And that's exactly what you'll learn in this video. I'll show you 11 ways to strengthen your mind from within, using simple attitudes based on the wisdom of the ancient Stoics and supported by scientific studies. And as you practice, you'll notice the changes. Your thoughts will become clearer, you'll be able to concentrate better, and you'll be able to handle your emotions more calmly, even in the most difficult times. Because what truly changes your life isn't how much you know, but what you do with what you know. So before you follow, write in the comments, "I decide to become smarter from the inside out." When you say it out loud or write it down, you change your position in the world. And when you change your position, what seemed beyond your reach seems possible. Now let's move on to the first step. 1. Transform distraction into mental strength. Sometimes you don't even realize when it all starts. I just wanted to relax a little, clear my mind, and when you see it, 2 hours have already passed. My head is even fuller, my body is more tired, and nothing important has happened. That's how distraction works. It comes slowly, without warning. It doesn't hit you all at once. It gradually drains your energy. And the most complicated part is that it seems harmless at first. But while you try to pay attention to everything, see everything, react to everything, something very important gets lost: your attention. And there is a truth that many people don't like to admit. If the mind is not nurtured, it gets carried away by everything. Through noises, through cell phone alerts, through fears, through oddities. And when that happens, it's no longer you who determines your actions, but your impulses. Taking care of your mind has become a gesture of courage in a world that thrives on distraction. But you don't need anything complicated for this. Just start paying more attention. Take a small part of your day to fully focus on what you are doing, even if it seems simple. This could be when solving a challenge, writing down an idea, or carefully storing your materials. The most important thing is not what you do, but how much you are truly present in this moment. Presence is a strength. Those who practice this power learn to think better, remember more easily, and choose more carefully. Marcus Aurelius, an ancient sage, wrote every day, "I didn't do this out of pride, but to remind myself of what's important and to keep my mind where it should be." He said, "Be like a stone that is hit by waves but remains firm." The mind of someone who trains attention is like this stone. She doesn't close herself off to the world, but she doesn't lose herself in it either. She watches before she reacts. She chooses what deserves her attention. Therefore, it is not easy to deceive or confuse. These days, it's rare to be focused. And everything that's rare has power. So just get started. 5 minutes to write something. 10 minutes of silence. Sing a song from beginning to end without doing anything else at the same time. Finish one thought before opening another. This isn't just mental training, it's a step toward freedom, because every time you choose to pay attention instead of being distracted, you regain control over the thing that can change your life, your mind. 2. Start living what you learn. Knowing something is only the first step. The true power of knowledge comes when it is put into practice. Many people read inspirational books, watch motivational videos, and hear buzzwords that resonate with them deeply. However, if those words are not translated into action, they merely become accumulated information with no impact. It's like filling a glass with water but never drinking it. The feeling of frustration sets in because you know exactly what needs to change, but you keep repeating the same behaviors. This cycle of knowing and inaction leads to an emotional block. Felt guilt arises, followed by a feeling of standing still, as if time is passing and you are simply watching from the sidelines, unable to move forward. And this is where real change is lost. The more you learn and don't put it into action, the further you feel from the person you could be. Knowledge only becomes wisdom when it is coupled with action. It's not enough to understand a concept or to accept something as true. Real learning comes from applying it to everyday life, from applying lessons to situations that really matter. It's not what you claim to understand that counts, but how you respond to difficulties, procrastination, criticism, fear, fatigue, or even boredom. What you do during these times reveals your true understanding. The perfect time to apply what you've learned isn't some idealized future where everything seems to be in its right place. The best time to apply knowledge is now, when things are chaotic, when you feel lost or unsure, or when doubts are coming hard. Because it's in this chaos, in this space of discomfort, that learning proves its value. It doesn't appear when everything is right, but when you're still in the middle of the journey, trying to find direction. Don't wait until everything is clear or perfect before taking action. The secret is to start with what you have, where you are, in every way possible. Every step, no matter how small, begins to change your reality. Try a new habit, apply a principle you believe in, or test an idea that seems promising. It's not necessary to change everything at once. Start with one thing and allow it to gradually expand and shape you over time. Ultimately, it's not how much knowledge you have that matters, but how much what you know has already been able to change your life and the way you act. It's practice that reveals the power of learning, and transformation happens in the act of living according to what you hold to be true. 3. The mind becomes stronger when it encounters something different. Talking to someone who thinks differently doesn't have to turn into an argument. In fact, it could be a great opportunity for growth. But many people think that thinking differently is a problem. When someone disagrees, it seems as if they're against it. If you see the world differently, they think you don't fully understand it. And so, many people prefer to be with only those who think alike, act alike, and live alike. This ultimately leads to the mind becoming stuck and not learning anything new. But the wise men, known as the Stoics, thought differently. They said that the mind only truly grows when it is tested. When you listen to someone say something that bothers or confuses you, something begins to stir within you. And this discomfort is important. Here you have the chance to think differently, to see what you didn't see before, to exchange certainties for awareness. The philosopher Socrates said that wisdom begins when we understand that we don't know everything, and no one realizes this if they only live surrounded by those who agree with everything. We also grow when we have to explain what we think, when we listen to others to the end, and understand that our ideas are not who we are. Changing your mind is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of growth. But for this to happen, it's not enough to just talk. You need to listen attentively with a genuine desire to understand the other person, not just respond. Do you remember a conversation in which someone said something that irritated you? Your first reaction might have been emotional, defending yourself, reacting quickly, or even saying the other person was wrong. But what if you had done the opposite for a moment? Take a deep breath, listen quietly, and ask with interest, why does this person think that way? Perhaps the conversation would have gone differently. Perhaps you would have learned something new instead of just wanting to be right. The truth is, no one grows on level ground. It's differences that stimulate the mind to reflect. It's discomfort that opens new perspectives. It's disagreements that teach patience, listening, and respect. And this applies to everything in life. Talking to people of a different age, hearing stories from people who lived differently, or even rethinking something you've always believed. Epictetus, another ancient thinker, said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because it's a wise way to live, to listen more than to speak. If you truly want to grow your mind, seek out this kind of conversation, not to win an argument, but to learn something new, because those who only live with like-minded people won't grow up. Just repeat the same thing. You don't have to agree with everything, but you do have to have the courage to listen. Because listening in the right way at the right time could be what you need to see beyond. 4. Read like someone who truly wants to change. Reading isn't just about passing the time. Reading is like looking in a mirror. It's like having a compass that shows you the way. It's a way to exercise your mind and heart every day. When you read carefully, you don't just see words. You discover ideas that can completely change your perspective on the world and yourself. Every well-read page is like opening a window, and open windows let light in, even into the hidden places inside you. Fictional stories help you sense what someone else is feeling. They teach you to understand emotions, imagine, and put yourself in someone else's shoes. This increases your empathy. Books that talk about life, the mind, the past, or great thinkers function as a school of thought. They not only explain, they inspire us to think differently. But just reading isn't enough. What really changes is what you do with what you learn. There's no point in saving beautiful sentences if they don't resonate with your mindset. There's no point in knowing what self-control is if you lose your temper over something. There's no point in knowing what courage is if you're constantly running away from your own dreams. Reading with intention is different. It involves highlighting an excerpt, writing about an idea, rereading it, telling someone about it, and trying to apply it that same day. This is the moment when what's written on paper becomes reflected in the way you act. This is when reading begins to change the way you think and live. Science has already shown this. Those who read carefully are more focused, have stronger memories, and think more deeply. But reading does even more. It helps you be more present in life. You will learn to express yourself better, speak more clearly, listen more attentively, and notice things that previously went unnoticed. And it all begins in silence, with an open book in front of you. The philosopher Seneca said that too much reading without reflection can distract attention instead of strengthening it. It's like eating without tasting it. The food passes by, but it doesn't truly nourish. Therefore, it's sometimes more worthwhile to reread a good book than to start several others. They don't take much time. What matters is the frequency. If you swap 15 minutes of distraction for 15 minutes of reading over the next 3 days, you'll already feel the difference in your day. And little by little, it will change the way your mind functions. Reading isn't just a way to learn more. It's a way to become someone who is more attentive, more sensitive, more decisive, and more clear in their decisions. So choose your books like someone choosing a good conversation. Read like someone ready to evolve, because sometimes what you read in silence is what gives you a voice when you need it most. And if you like the content, consider becoming a member of the channel. Not only will you be helping the channel, but you'll also have access to exclusive content. Click the link in the description and become a member now. Back to content. 5. What you put into your body affects your mind. You want to be more attentive, understand things better, and have more control over your thoughts. But you continue to pretend your body has nothing to do with it. It simply does. It has everything to do with it. Your mind lives in your body. If your body is tired, inflamed, or poorly nourished, your mind can't function properly. There's no point in trying to think better if you're not sleeping well. There's no point in seeking balance if your body is completely out of whack. These days, many people talk about being more productive, having emotional control, and thinking more clearly. But they forget something fundamental. The brain is part of the body, and the body is the basis of everything. Do you want to improve your memory? Pay attention to your diet. Do you want to make decisions more calmly? Sleep well. Do you want to think more clearly? Drink water. Do you want to have more emotional balance? Move your body. It seems simple, and it is. But simplicity is often what we overlook the most. Among the foods that benefit the brain the most, omega-3 is one of the most important. Not because it's trendy, but because science has already proven it works. It improves communication between neurons, keeps the brain sharp, and helps balance substances like serotonin and dopamine, which influence our mood and mental energy. But there's no point in taking a supplement and expecting a miracle. Change happens when we combine small adjustments in our daily lives: sleeping better, breathing carefully, choosing healthy foods, going for a walk, stretching our bodies, pausing for a few minutes to pay attention to how we feel inside. These small actions give you the strength to live better days. The philosopher Seneca said that a wise man is not afraid of illness, but he doesn't invite it either. For him, taking care of one's body was a form of wisdom, not out of vanity, but out of responsibility. A well-groomed body supports a stronger mind. A nourished body provides more energy for learning, more patience, and more clarity in decision-making. And little by little, this changes the course of your life. There is no point in trying to change one's mind with mental effort alone if the body is neglected, tired, overworked, and abused through haste and lack of care. So start where you are. Everything you put into your body, food, movement, rest, changes how you feel, think, choose, and even who you become. Body and mind are not separate entities. They are part of the same whole. Taking care of one is the best way to strengthen the other. 6. Learning can change the course of your life. Learning isn't just about memorizing information. It's not just about collecting diplomas. It keeps your mind alive and your heart awake. Every time you decide to start something new, tell yourself, even without knowing anything, I'm still growing, I'm still moving. And that changes everything, because when we stop learning, we gradually lose our curiosity. The mind begins to repeat the same things over and over again. It remains in automatic mode. It closes itself off from everything else, as if it's afraid of the new. But learning, even if it's something simple, is a way to show courage. It means admitting that you're willing to make mistakes and step outside your comfort zone. And beyond that, it shows that you're willing to grow. It could be anything: learning a new language, playing an instrument, sewing, cooking, drawing, or understanding a subject that's always been difficult for you. What matters isn't what you choose, but what this process awakens within you. They learn to be more humble, more attentive, more patient, and more adaptable. These are qualities you don't learn from books. They come from choosing not to sit still. Every new thing you learn causes your brain to make new connections. This strengthens your memory, improves your attention, and helps you make decisions more clearly. But the greatest advantage isn't just your mindset, it's who you become. You begin to trust yourself more and believe that you can adapt to change, and that is true freedom. Making mistakes is no longer a reason to be ashamed, it becomes a sign that you're trying. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin and act despite uncertainty, because you understand that learning is more important than looking perfect. The philosopher Epictetus said that progress begins when we admit that we don't yet know everything. It is this recognition that opens the door to true growth, for without humility, no one becomes wise, and no one changes without being willing to learn. So if something catches your eye, try it, even if it seems difficult. Take the first step. Try it for 10 minutes. It's okay not to understand everything right away. The goal isn't to get it right every time, it's to recognize how learning changes the person you are. Every small victory builds something bigger, the confidence that you can change, that you won't stay with what you know today, and that growth depends on your choices. Not luck, not fate. Learning isn't just about what you gain. It's also about everything you don't lose if you choose to move forward. 7. Intelligence is something that develops. For a long time, it was said that intelligence was something for the few. Many believed that some people were born with this gift, while others just watched from afar and tried to improve themselves as best they could. But this idea is false. The brain isn't born fully formed. It develops over time. You don't have to cling to what you once were or what people have said about you. What truly determines your abilities isn't the talent you were born with, but rather the effort you choose to put in from now on. Brain research has already shown that it can change. It changes when you learn something new, when you face challenges, when you leave your seat despite being afraid of making mistakes. This adaptability of the brain has a name: neuroplasticity. Thanks to it, you can become someone much stronger than you think, but that doesn't happen alone. Intelligence is not a trophy. It is a path. It's not about the preconceived answers, but about how you handle what you don't yet know. It grows every time you try to understand an idea, every time you solve something without help, every time you keep trying even when you're not sure what's coming next. It's like moving a muscle. If you don't exercise it, it weakens. Those who exercise frequently develop, and you don't have to spend all day exercising. Small daily exercises already yield results. Things like putting together a puzzle, playing an instrument, calculating without a calculator, cooking without following instructions, or swapping a short video for an interesting book. Simple actions that require attention and concentration, but help the brain make new connections. This creates flexible thinking, the ability to adapt, understand better, and make good decisions, even when the path seems confusing. And this kind of intelligence is very important in the real world because it's what keeps you going in difficult times. But don't forget, for the mind to be strong, the body must be healthy. Sleeping well, eating a balanced diet, moving the body, breathing deeply. All of these are part of training. A tired mind remains stuck in confusion, and in an environment of internal turmoil, no idea can grow. Stoic philosophers already knew this. Epictetus, for example, said that no one is born wise, but everyone has the chance to become one. This power lies not in repeating difficult words, but in living with intention, in thinking, asking questions, deciding, and acting. True learning doesn't just stay in your head, it changes the way you live. Therefore, strengthening your mind isn't pride, being cautious about your future. It's respecting yourself. It helps you make better decisions, learn from mistakes, overcome difficult moments, and stay calm when everything out there seems to be falling apart. You aren't bound by your past, your upbringing, or the money you have. What's holding you back are the habits you repeat over and over again. And that can change now. With one step, one new decision, one challenge you face. Strengthen your mind and your life will follow suit. Not because you're better than others, but because you'll be more alert, more attentive, and better prepared to live a wise life. But there's something important to understand. If you've been trying to step out of your comfort zone and learn more for a long time, but still haven't succeeded, there may be something you're not aware of. I know what it could be. It's fear. Fear is like a snake that comes silently and influences you without you noticing. It makes you feel bad for days, months, and even years. Living like this is like being constantly sick. But I know a solution. Stoic philosophers and modern psychology have a way to eliminate this. I myself managed to cure myself of this fear. I made a video explaining how to get rid of this evil, and it's in the first comment. Click the link in the first comment and begin healing this feeling of fear. 8. You only grow when you stop avoiding the difficult. We only truly grow when we stop running away from the things that give us work. What really hurts isn't always the difficulty itself, but rather the habit of constantly escaping it. Deep down, you know what you have to do, but you choose not to. And it's precisely this space between knowing and not doing that begins to weaken your inner strength. Sometimes we say, "I'll solve that later," but that after becomes a way to hide the fear. You postpone a conversation, leave a decision open for later, and don't start a project, but in reality it's not a lack of time. It's the fear of how you'll feel, and everything you put aside becomes bigger. The email you didn't respond to becomes cause for concern. Debt becomes guilt. The silence between two people becomes distance. When we pretend the problem doesn't exist, it grows. But when we look at it and confront it, it begins to lose its power. Courage doesn't always mean doing something big. Sometimes it's simply about facing that small inconvenience before it becomes something much worse. It's about taking a hard look at what you normally try to avoid. And do you know what happens when you do that? Your mind stops being constantly on alert and protecting itself. It begins to think clearly, calmly, and with focus, because it's no longer trying to hide something, but is ready to resolve it. Marcus Aurelius, a very wise emperor, once said, "Nothing happens to a person that he cannot bear," and that demonstrates something very true. What is difficult is not your enemy. It is the situation in which you show who you are. But you won't discover your own strength until you stop running away from challenges. All the discipline, focus, maturity, and clarity you desire won't be found in another course or another reading. They are the next time you decide not to run away. When you face what scares you, your mind changes. Not just because you become stronger, but because you begin to trust yourself. They stop living dominated by fear and begin to be guided by what needs to be done. Because being truly intelligent doesn't mean escaping pain, but knowing when pain is a reasonable price to pay to build something important. 9. You don't have to react to everything you feel. There are people who know a lot, yet still find it difficult to live in balance. They think quickly, speak clearly, but are unable to handle situations that hurt them. This is because the intelligence that truly transforms lives lies not only in logical thinking, it also affects the heart. It's easy to appear steadfast when everything is the way you want it to be. The real challenge is to stay healthy when something hurts inside. And this is where the difference becomes apparent between those who simply understand and those who truly know how to live. Having control over your emotions doesn't mean hiding your feelings. It's about knowing how to recognize the feeling without being confused by it. It is an internal decision that prevents you from acting spontaneously and later regretting it and calling it a mistake when in reality it was just an oversight. And that is something very important. Whenever you react rashly, you give control to anger, fear, sadness, or hurt. And at that moment, you are no longer the one making the clear decision. Learning to understand your own feelings is a sign of intelligence, because feelings are like impulses from within, and if you don't pay attention to them, they confuse what you see, make you speak without thinking, blame someone without reason, or give up prematurely. These attitudes separate you from the truth, from people, from yourself, and also from important values. Therefore, controlling what you feel is not just about avoiding arguments. It helps you think better, make better decisions, see more truthfully, build healthier relationships, and understand what is real and what is just a mess you are going through. Marco Aurelio said that when pain comes from outside, it does not reach your soul, and when it comes from within, you have the chance to change it. This is exactly the power that comes from realizing that you can feel something and still make a new choice. In this moment, life begins to change. You stop being dominated by your mood swings and begin to walk more calmly. Because you grow from experiences, emotional intelligence is silent. It appears when you listen without interrupting the other person, when you breathe before you react, when you understand what the other person meant and not just what they said in words. It's not noticeable from a distance, but it keeps everything close. And little by little you get to know yourself better and protect yourself from being hurt by what comes from outside. You understand that you can be frustrated without losing yourself, be angry without losing control, be sad without getting hurt more. You learn to take care of yourself, and that not only protects you, it also makes you stronger. Because when you stop fighting with everything you feel, you start learning from what you feel. And no one can take this kind of learning away from you. 10. Swap the voice that criticizes you for one that supports you. There's a silent but very persuasive voice inside you that whispers every now and then that you're not good enough. It appears in your most vulnerable moments, when you make a mistake, when you start something new, or when you compare yourself to others. This voice doesn't shout or demand attention, but it has a discreet way of sneaking in, especially when you need courage and self-belief the most. And the problem is, over time, you start to think it's part of who you are, and it becomes a constant presence in your mind. You start to believe it, and without realizing it, you start acting in accordance with this limiting belief. You shy away from challenges you might have previously embraced with enthusiasm. You start to hide your successes, either out of shame or fear of standing out. And once again, you remain silent when, deep down, what you most want to do is express yourself, say what you feel, show yourself authentically. Without realizing it, this voice diminishes your shine and causes you to live with less confidence and less light than you truly could. But the truth is, this voice isn't who you are. It doesn't define your being. It doesn't reflect your true capabilities. It comes from difficult moments in the past, from cruel words you heard that are etched in your memory, from unresolved feelings, from experiences you couldn't fully understand. This voice isn't there to help or protect you. It's there because you've simply listened to it for a long time without questioning it. It's become a habit, an automatic response to life's challenges. But that can be changed. Your thoughts aren't absolute truths. They can be changed with patience and practice. Habits can be changed, and the way you see yourself can be rewritten. Self-confidence arises the moment you choose not to believe everything your mind tells you. It's not about eliminating negative thoughts, but about learning to question them and challenge them. If you say, "I'm learning," instead of "I can't do it," you've already taken an important step in the right direction. Instead of harshly criticizing yourself for mistakes, start to see these moments as opportunities for growth and ask yourself, what can I do better? It's not about pretending everything is fine or ignoring feelings or difficulties, but about telling yourself a fairer story. A story that acknowledges failure but also recognizes effort, perseverance, and the ability to learn. A story that inspires courage, that propels you forward. The brain is shaped by what it hears repeatedly. If you repeat harsh words, it reacts with fear, insecurity, and paralysis. But if you allow yourself to speak to yourself in a kind way, your brain begins to respond with action and movement. Speaking kindly to yourself is a powerful act. You're teaching your brain to keep going, even when things get difficult. As the philosopher Epictetus said, what really hurts us is not what happens in our lives, but rather what we think about what happens. One mistake alone can't bring us down. What really hurts is the belief that that mistake defines who you are. But it doesn't define it. You are much more than any mistake you've made. What really matters is what you do after the mistake. Confidence is built by keeping trying, even after you've fallen. By choosing to keep going even when you're not sure where you're going. By choosing, even on days of uncertainty or fatigue, to treat yourself with respect and acknowledge your worth and dignity. The voice of doubt may continue to surface, but over time it will weaken, and instead the voice of confidence, courage, and perseverance will grow stronger. That inner drive that believes in you, that knows you can get back up, that understands that the journey will have ups and downs, but always leads to growth in the end. So the next time you hear that phrase that depresses you, when the voice of doubt tries to stop you, respond with confidence and determination. I am growing. Because it is the purest truth, you are not stagnant. You are constantly evolving with every step, with every decision, with every learning. Progress doesn't just happen when things are going well, but most importantly, it happens when you decide to keep going no matter what. 11. Believe in yourself. If you don't believe you can change something, you've already set a limit for yourself before you even try. And it's not the world that will stop you. It's that feeling that you can't, don't deserve, or aren't good enough. Self-doubt is the biggest obstacle to your growth, but that doubt isn't who you really are. It's something you've created over time, with old criticisms, unresolved mistakes, and constant comparisons. The problem isn't that doubts arise, but that over time you begin to believe it as if it were true. But the truth is different. Your brain can change, your mind can learn, and your behavior can improve. Science calls this neuroplasticity, and Stoicism calls it discipline. Ultimately, both say the same thing. You can be much more than you have been so far. Change begins when you choose not to trust in a perfect future, but in your ability to take the next step. Believing in yourself isn't about being certain of the outcome, but about believing that no matter what happens, you'll find a way to move forward. Epictetus, a wise philosopher, said that nothing truly great happens suddenly. And neither does confidence. It arises in the small moments when you decide not to give up on yourself. Then you say, I don't know yet, but I can learn. Or, I haven't succeeded yet, but I can try again. This is how your mind begins to change. The doubt still arises, but you no longer follow it. A comparison arises, but you continue on your own path. Self-criticism arises, but you respond with patience and determination. Believe in yourself. Not because you are already everything you want to be, but because you are someone who will stop at nothing to become who you want to be.